Okay, there's a big event coming, and you're about 7 to 10 days out from said event, and we're not entirely sure how to taper or rest or recover or kind of the order of operations in terms of how much time we should take off leading up to the event. Of course, in this video, Core 4 related, we're talking about the urban legend. I'm trying to make this video for a couple of reasons. Obviously, to make you guys as efficient as possible in terms of how many workouts to do, how aggressive to make these workouts, and give you the right line of motion to attack this upcoming 7 to 10 days. And this can apply to any workout or any event. Obviously in Core 4, Urban Legend is the biggest one. And I think there's just a lot of misconception of what to do, the right practices, and what's going to set yourself up, to be ready to go on the 25th of April, which is when this is. Now, caveat being, I'm going to try to do this Urban Legend training before every single Urban Legend in the future, so it'll always precede the Urban Legend. But they're not always going to fall the same. So what you're looking at on the monitor right here is 8.1 and 8.1 for both chest and for leg day. So 8.1, if I would imagine at this point you guys have figured this out. It means that it's the second chest and leg day of week number 8, and this is going to fall the weekend prior to Urban Legend. At the end of the day, it shouldn't change any of the logic that we're about to go over, but just note that as we're working our way through this, because I'm going to reference it a few times. So 7 to 10 days out. Normally 7 days is probably most people's, they start thinking about tapering before an event. That's usually when it hits your mind, all right, we're 1 week away. But realistically, you can start it a little bit further out. I've in the past thought about going 2 weeks out. That always felt too far for me. But 10 days, you can kind of see the light on the horizon. You can start to kind of all right, it's coming. What should I start doing? And again, if it's 7 days for you, it's 7 days. I don't think it's that big of a difference, 7 to 10 days, but you could definitely start a taper 10 days out. Honestly, even earlier than that, depending on the event. But for this particular scenario, especially with these two workouts, I've been trying to figure out a way to articulate this so that everybody understands it. And again, I think this is where the big misconception lies, is I'm going to use a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being if you have a 10, it is the best physical performance you could possibly be in given the circumstances, okay? And that would require a lot of things to go right in a lot of our lives, whether you have kids or jobs or you travel, you get sick, who knows, whatever it is, right? But there's always at some point in your life you feel like you were in the best physical shape of your life, and a lot of things tend to align for that to happen. So hypothetically, let's just say, for whoever it is I'm talking to right now, an 8 is the highest you can, physically achieve for this upcoming Urban Legend, right? If everything went well, if all the sleep was perfect, there was no sickness, no travel, no X, whatever you want to call X, an 8 is the absolute best you could physically do for this particular event, okay? Again, bear with me. If that's the case, right, 7 to 10 days out, no level of training is going to allow you to supersede that 8. All right, meaning that these workouts for sure, and even the workouts could be argued prior or earlier in this week, none of these workouts are going to allow you to raise the ceiling from an 8 to a 9 or to a 10. That's just not going to happen. You're too deep into the training. It's too late. There's nothing you can do physically in 7 to 10 days that's going to allow you to move from an 8 to a 9, right? So the question is, well, how do I achieve an 8? And in order to do that, you need to taper. And tapering, this is why tapering is so important. I think a lot of us miss this because we're so habitual. So many of you guys feel like you have to work out every single day. You have to follow the exact same schedule. You have to keep the intensities elevated every day in order for your workout to count. And that's just not the case. Not if you want to perform as best as possible on the day of the event. All right, so that's the entire point of this video. So keep that in mind, especially those of you that are going to come on the weekend. It's completely fine. I'm going to go over this in a second. But if your goal is all right, this is the best shape I'm going to get in, an 8's all I can get. I want to, on the 25th, achieve an 8, right? I don't want to get to the 25th and achieve a 6 or a 7 and know that I still had some left in the tank. How do I go about doing that? All right, well, you don't want to get to the Urban Legend and have any level of fatigue or repercussion from the workouts prior to the Urban Legend. So at minimum, you're going to want to take off Thursday and Friday, pretty much all together. Now, that being said, when I say take off, I'm taking off Core 4 workouts. We're not doing any type of lifting, nothing that's going to lead into the Urban Legend. Like I said, nothing that you're going to wake up on the Urban Legend on the 25th, which is on a Saturday, by the way, and feel the repercussions of those workouts in any way, right? Active recovery is okay. Going and playing tennis casually is okay. Walking, those types of things. Riding your bike casually. Nothing of high intensity. Now, if we get a little bit pushed back a little bit earlier and we start getting, let's say, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday prior to the 25th, which is a Saturday again, those workouts you want to do not at super high intensity. So you can still work out. You can definitely target muscles that you're not necessarily going to target during the Urban Legend. But still, we don't want to work so hard that we're only giving ourselves a 48-hour window to rest and recover optimally before the Urban Legend. So Monday and Tuesday, depending on who you are, you probably could get away with elevating your output like 70, 80%, but not doing so much volume on a particular muscle group that it's a lingering kind of soreness the following 48 to 72 hours, right? So you want to keep the high intensity up. You want the muscles to be firing. You want to remember how to move, or you don't want to forget all of that. So again, Monday, Tuesday, you have more flexibility to be aggressive. Wednesday, you start getting into kind of like that gray limbo area where a lot of us probably I don't know necessarily want to roll that dice. Thursday, Friday, you're basically off with a little bit of active recovery. And if you, we're 5 days out. If we go all the way back 6 and 7 days prior to the Urban Legend, that's where these two workouts come into play. Based off of what I just said, these two workouts I put up here as optional because they're the exact same workouts from the chest and leg day of the week prior to this. And I did this on purpose, right? Obviously. The whole point of this is that at this point, like I said, if 8 is your ceiling, these workouts aren't going to elevate your 8, then there's no point in doing anything else to cause any level of anxiety or make you train so hard that it ends up being a repercussion later in the week when we get closer to the Urban Legend. So at this point, data is your best friend. Understanding transitions, understanding rep schemes, understanding how aggressive you have to pace yourself. The more data you have, the better opportunity you have to be as optimal, as efficient as possible. I think this is where a lot of people miss a lot of time, right? And for example, hypothetically, right off the top of my head, if we're looking at like chest there, the chest portion of the Urban Legend, which is on the left-hand side here, a lot of us are going to get off the run, right? And we can talk about the pacing of the run and how it affects your chest press, right? But let's just use the example of we'll get off the run, we'll get to the push-ups, and let's say during the Urban Legend training, you've realized that you're pretty good at doing 4 sets of 10 push-ups if you're a female, 5 sets of 10 if you're a male. And it works really well and allows you to get into your chest press. Well, on the day of the event, you're going to have a lot of adrenaline. There's going to be people watching. Egos and pride come into play. And all of a sudden, we're going to forget about everything that we practiced, things that have worked really well for us. And all of a sudden, we're going to rip out a set of 20, and we're going to build this level of lactic in our body that we can't necessarily recover from, which means that our first set of chest press or second set of chest press are going to be severely handicapped based off of the lactic we've built up because we went off of what we've been practicing because of all the external factors, right? Days like these right here, these optional days, allow you to practice that. Like this allows you to be like, all right, let's just see what happens if I go off the norm or off the standard and I try something different. Like what's going to occur to me? The more you do it, the more you have an understanding of all the scenarios that are going to play out. And I would highly advise anybody that's coming on the weekend prior to the Urban Legend sees these two workouts. You're doing these optional workouts all with the understanding of like it's not as fast as you can go. It's not as hard as you can go. It could be, but the main goal in mind is to learn how to transition, to clock splits, to play with different rep schemes, to understand the difference in note. If you do X amount of reps in the push-ups, how does it affect my first set on the chest press? If my first set on the chest press is a set of 15 or 20, how does that affect my second set? If I take 30 seconds relative to a minute, like that's 30 seconds in the Urban. That's a lot of time. A lot of you guys, I mean, we've had a lot of finishers within 30 seconds. So 30 seconds isn't nothing. Like how does all this play out? And that's what these two workouts are for. They're not to cause any anxiety or for you guys to freak out at all. It's literally to give you more information so you are better equipped come the actual Urban Legend. So at this point, we're talking 7 and 8 days out roughly. You're still fine. The intensity can still be elevated. Like you shouldn't be worried about the intensity side of it necessarily. But these are here literally just for you guys to gather more and more data so you're ready to go. Because again, nothing we do here is going to physically make you better for a week later. I put dealer's choice at the bottom of both of these. Just FYI, like when you guys finish these, you can do whatever you want. You can just be done. You can work on something maybe that we've been kind of neglecting over the last 8 weeks. You can just jump into the regular class. You can kind of do whatever you want, but this is your last little bit of freedom necessarily before we move into the final 5 days of the countdown to the Urban Legend. So hopefully this was helpful. Now, I want this video to be useful down the road. And like I said, just to end it, like I don't know how the Urban Legend training is going to fall next time Urban Legend rolls around, but there will be plenty of weeks where there are 2 of the same workout in the week. So it might still be viable. Hopefully this cleared up some level of confusion, give you guys a little bit of idea of how to direct yourselves with this week leading up. And if you obviously have any questions, just ask.